Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Boy Gardening. My name is Nigel and we are in my outdoor glass greenhouse again. And today I want to share with you guys a modification that I did for my greenhouse that I have seen some great results. So I've been traveling a lot this year, which means that I'm away from my greenhouse and I try to make everything very automated and also to just keep this space very contained, which means that I want constant temperature, I want pretty consistent humidity. So I have heaters set up, I have a sprinkler system, and I have a humidifier. And so I try to make this space really feel like a tropical garden. But yes, not everything goes according to plan, especially when I'm away. So without me needing to worry about my greenhouse, I decided to what I call mossify this space. So what I mean by mossify is that I decided to put moss all over the trays and on top of the topsoil of every pot. The moss is going to help keep moisture in the substrate. I think when I'm away for long periods of time, my plants actually like it a lot because I don't overwater them. So overwatering has been just the the thing that I'm struggling with for all my time growing tropical plants. And overwatering caused them to develop root rot. And then when there's a long period of time where they're not receiving the water, then they have like dry rot, and it just causes so many issues. And so one of my resolutions for this year is really to stop overwatering my plants. Like, just stop. But the ADHD in me just cannot help but want to disturb my plants and give it love. So I have two changes. One change is the Mossification, which I'm gonna bring you around and show you how it's done or how I'm doing it, but also to change up how I water my plants. So one thing I noticed is that I am a pretty heavy waterer, which means that I just like water a lot, very heavy-handed. And so one thing I'm changing is to also use a kind of like a sprinkler. So this is the device that I got on Amazon. I think it's a good device when it comes to foliage watering. Foliage watering means that you will be putting your nutrients in the water that you're spraying on the leaves of your plants. And yeah, there's science that the leaves actually can absorb the nutrients that is in the water that you are spraying it with. So foliage watering, and I am using that to minimize me dunking water into my pots. And this is what I found. So I've used many different sprays over the years, but one thing I didn't like about the sprays I'm using is that it's a manual pump that you have to you have to like literally manually pumping. And I always just give myself the excuse that like, oh, it's a workout. But I found a electronic one that it just needs USB charging or USB-C charging, and it just works, and it doesn't need manual pumping. And also, there's very little like leaking because it's not using water pressure or air pressure in the container to help spray the water. And so it is electronic. This is what I have, and I think this is just like a really good size. This is a 8 liter container, so it's about 2 gallons, and it has a strap. So what I'm using this for, it's foliage watering, but also it's just to minimize how I water, the amount that my plants is receiving. So this is the handle. You have your 2 liter or your 8 liter or 2 gallons of water, and this handle, it is USB C, and so when you press this button, it's just gonna spray. They this at least this brand that I got from Amazon, it comes with 3 different nozzle, and this one is just the one that I stick with, and in the end, it works. You just adjust, and it sprays fine mist, or it sprays more direct. And I've never actually used the other two. I never switch it out. So this one is just the one that I stuck with. So by turning it to like the tightest, it becomes more finer, and it becomes like a wider spray. And then if you turn it loose, then it kind of like come out as streams. So this is just one of the best finds that that I've gotten for my plant hobby on Amazon. This is just like life saving. So you can carry it around, and there's no wires around. So some of these pumps, they do have a big, like maybe 5 gallon, and you fill it up with water, and then you put the pump in, and you got to plug into a outlet, and then it works. The spray is gonna get activated. So it needs like an actual outlet, but this one is just a charge, and it actually can. I don't charge this like often. It just depends on how often you use it. But yeah, so there's no wires, no like restriction in how far you can go, and this one actually can extend out. But I think this is I just like it to be the shorter length, but you can extend this out to reach for just spaces and pots that are like really far out. Yeah, and this is just like the best. So I think this is definitely helping me with controlling how much water I give my plants. The thing is, anthuriums, they are actually really, really hardy in the sense that they do not need like too much water, or that they can survive, they can thrive with some dryness, And I'm just really, really bad. And I think this is not for everybody, but for me, I'm just really, really bad with letting things dry out a little. It's just, I don't know. It just never worked for me to wait for things to dry out. And also the thing is, with different pots and with different plants, they uptake water at different rates as well, right? So one problem I have is when I water all the plants just with my normal like watering can. Some plants need the water, yes, but some plants, they do not need the water, but I'm still watering them because I might as well water them all at the same time. And that is when some plants suffer greatly because there's still moisture and water in the pot, and I'm just adding more, and they didn't have the time to. It's like they're drowning, constantly drowning, and so this spraying method really helps to control the amount of water that I'm giving to each pot, and it's combined with the moss method, right? So for every pot, I'm putting moss on top of the topsoil. Let me show you a pot. So what is a beautiful plant to show? So this is my NSE. I know in some videos I keep saying NES. NSE dress. And I don't know why, but it just likes to form very wavy leaf margins. And this new leaf is just like trying to be a jellyfish. So yes, but you can see I am mossifying the top, and I like this because as a person who is heavy with watering, right? When I water, the water comes on here first instead of going down there, which means that if the plant needs the moisture, then they can grow up. and this maintains the overall moisture in the pot. And I think with this moss and with my spray, I really overcome, not fully, but to a big extent of my overwatering habit. And of course, to put the moss up on top, we should also sandwich by putting the moss below. So for every tray, I actually have moss underneath. So I think my overwatering also comes from this fear that the plant's going to dry out. And drying out is like really bad. Um, and so I think having the moss down at the bottom kind of provide a safety net. So even if the pot, when I'm away, especially when I'm traveling and I'm away and I'm not here to look at the plants, and one pot, a smaller pot maybe, probably, that is just dry already, the bottom moss that is wet or moist will be providing some moisture. It actually encourages the roots to grow downwards to seek those moisture. So when there is like a dry condition in the pot, I don't have to worry because I trust that the moss at the bottom would be moist. And I do keep like a pretty nice thick layer of moss. This method is expensive because I like to use like pretty premium moss, and so moss is expensive, and I use a good thick layer. But so far, it is really working very well for me. Maybe I can pick out some pots, and you can see that the roots is actually trying to get out of the small holes at the bottom of the pots and go into the moss. Okay, so I found one pot. This is a port crossed with the gentle heart, and this level of moisture is like I don't like it. It feels a little bit too dry. It feels a little bit too dry. So like when there's water droplets in there, I'm like, calm down. It's okay. It's not going to thirst and die. But you can see the moisture down here. It's not rotting the new roots. Instead, it is encouraging new roots. So if it's the me who is watering with a water jug, there's a high likelihood that I kept watering. The water at the bottom is not clearing, and this part is just like a drowning zone. So yes, and you can see the roots are really happy right here. This root is trying to escape, which means that the plant has learned. The plant has learned that there is more outside at the bottom. So it's seeking out the moss. There's a little moss that's attached to it already. So this is just so much uh, more assuring for me, I think. This new leaf, really flat. But yes, this is just such beauty to me, the nice happy roots, because I've struggled so much for so long when it comes to roots, root rots, overwatering, roots, and then root rot, and I overwater, like so this one is a plant that I know it is starting to uh, move around, right? So, oh, I need to add some moss to it. But yes, this is the Rio Wild cross with the pup RLFS. I think I've shown this in another separate video, but this immersion, it is just black love. Express, like darker than espresso, cocoa. But yes, so normally I'll be like, oh wow, like I think it looks pretty dry in here. And then the weight of this is also quite light. the top is definitely dry. The thing is, sometimes the top is dry, the middle is okay, the bottom is wet, and then you think that the plant needs water, and then you water, and then the top is good, the bottom is wet, and the middle is wet, and the bottom is just like drowning. So that is what's been happening for me for years. And this one, you can see that the roots are learning. The roots are almost gonna pop out soon, but it's learning that okay, in this zone, I can very safely grow and seek out water. So it is a very it's a very fine balance between like letting it dry out and also providing moisture in a timely manner. That if it's too dry, the plant might have what we call dry rot, and then when you put water, it just like worsens the rot, and then your plant might crash. There's this fine balance that you need to achieve for these very picky tropical plants. Yes, but this one I'll need to put some moss on it because the top is really quite dry. Like I can see there's parts right here where it's turning light brown, so it means that it's not wet, not moist anymore. But yes, um, I don't think I want to take down my queens, but also queens are known to grow a lot of aerial roots, and so putting moss kind of at the top around um, the the top part where a new leaf is going to grow out, it's going to encourage some of the anthuriums to grow aerial roots. These roots will grow outwards and into the moss that is around the stem. Okay, this is not a queen. There's this one queen that's like a really good example, but it is so huge. I'm not going to move it, but here. So this plant is a crystal crossed with a silver, red crystal crossed with silver. So it grows out into the moss, and then from the moss, it grows down. It grows into the moss first, and then it goes down. And wow, I just love it. And you can see that there is like this white fur around the root that usually often only occurs with moss. Only occurs with moss. And this is just like so beautiful. I love when I look at this. Yeah. And the moss, it's kind of dry. But you know what? I'm actually not that worried. I'm not that worried. Without the moss, though, I would actually feel more worried. So even for plants that are hanging up, because I'm out of space, out of shelf space, just having the moss and when it's hung, when it's higher up, the temperature is actually higher and it's drier at the top, and so having this moss just gives me a better peace of mind. Yes. Where is where did I is it here? Okay. I forgot where I where I put this. Yes. So I'm going to show you now some plants that are happily in this moss kingdom. Let's go. Whew. Yeah. So below these plants, I have moss. So for example, this one, you can see the top is dry. That's why the tree fern turned light brown. Okay, but the thing is, I can feel there is moisture at the bottom. So I'm not gonna be too afraid if I leave this for, I mean, I wouldn't do that, but like if I leave it for a week on its own, I'm not afraid that it's gonna die on me because this is wet or like heavily moist, heavily moist. Yes. So putting this on top and then having this at the bottom, it's just been working really well. Even for the ones at the top right here. So I just find that it's so important to have it on these plants because at the top right here, it just dries much, much faster. Like this is a little bit crunchy. This is a Carla. So it's a little bit crunchy at the top. And I just watered these yesterday. So the Omi would want to like water yesterday, and then if the top looks not too wet, I'm gonna water it again. And the thing is, because this pot is so big, the moisture's probably at the bottom. And so if I keep watering, just basing on how the soil at the top looks like, the bottom is gonna be a swimming pool. And yeah, so this pot actually looks, I would say, pretty dry. Yeah, I'm not sure you can see it in um, the video like this. It's actually looking pretty dry. It's pretty light, but I can trust, this is not completely crispy, and this one is definitely moist on both sides. Yes. So this one too, hanging a really big pot. The top, even if it's crispy, I just feel like it helps to maintain at least the consistency of moisture down here. So you can see that this is still dark instead of like having a gradient of light brown to dark. Yeah. Moss. It is a lot of moss. Look at this beautiful roots. And you can see, so this is a good example, right? That, so the substrate was until here, and then I put moss on it. It's growing into the moss. Is teaching very good behaviors, seeking behaviors. Yes. On top here, overall, I think the humidity of the whole space also goes up because the moss help to carry so much water and encourage evaporation into the space. I think it's helpful whether you are in a greenhouse like where I am, or whether is it in ambient condition. But yeah, this is just something that I am experimenting with, and so far I've had really good results that I really like. It's not that you're a bad grower. I feel like it's just that sometimes habits you need to just examine and then see, okay, this hasn't been working. How can I improve? And you have to be open to try. You have to be open to, well, spend some money and experiment. And yeah, so far I really like the, after this I'm gonna water, but I'm really happy with this. It is like a must-have, whether you are just using it to spray on your plants indoors in your living room, or you want to do foliage feeding, foliage watering like this, or you just want to increase the humidity of the space in your tent or in your greenhouse, this is just a really good tool. And no need some pump, no need manual labor, just with the click of the button. And you are not restricted with wires. You don't have to plug in, plug out. So this watering device is really life-saving. And using of this moss method, I feel like it is also encouraging my plants to grow and put out new leaves. Like there's just so many of them. After I put, I don't know, you'll be like, maybe it's not because of the moss, but really the timing. After I put the moss, new leaf. After I put the moss, new leaf. After I put the moss, new leaf. And maybe it's the time that we are transitioning out of winter, but maybe it's also just like the chemicals. I don't know. The chemicals that's in the moss that kind of signal to the plant that like, oh, you're safe, and it's okay to start growing again. Or maybe it's just how the moss is preventing me from overwatering my plants. So it can be a lot of different factors that can encourage new leaf. But right now, I'm just seeing new leaves all over, even on very stubborn, like haven't been giving me a new leaf for months, uh, kind of plants. I've starting to see them kind of come back alive. So this is one I'm going to share with you, mossification, and also using a spray for foliage watering, or even just watering of the topsoil using a spray, so that if you're heavy-handed, you will not risk killing your plants by just overwatering. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to buy some plants, I have some plants, but I think I'm going to restock more coming when spring is here. So you can go to boygardening.com, and then you can also find more content on, well, here, YouTube. You can find it on TikTok and also on Instagram at Boy Gardening. And also you can find me on some of the Ethereum specific Facebook groups. And you can talk to me there. Don't be shy to send a question or just a DM to say hi. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.